Hi everyone, it's Wednesday the 23rd of February. I'm Esther Kidd and I am a member of the worship team at East and Old Church, and you'll be seeing different people on a Wednesday from now on. A little over a week ago, the members of the church book club met. We are a small group who very much enjoy reading for pleasure. We read factual, fiction, biography, autobiography. And we started to meet in 2014. My goodness, it seems ages ago. But since then, we have met once a month in each other's homes. But due to COVID, we met on Zoom over the past 2 years and continue to exchange opinions on a variety of books. And it's been good to keep in touch and meet up with each other. We very rarely have the same thoughts on a book, which is really part of the reason we meet. We're all very different, and so our choice of books differs greatly. We usually give the book a mark out of 10, and I think if my memory serves me correctly, the lowest mark I ever gave a book was 0 or 1, and the highest mark I ever gave a book was 10 out of 10 for a book called The Kashmir Shawl. I love having a book in my hands. I like the feel of a book. I like being able to turn the pages and go back if I want to, or the pictures I think are usually better in a copy of a book. So I don't really enjoy reading on a Kindle much, but sometimes it was necessary to use a Kindle. And I know you can carry 100 books about with you on a Kindle if you choose to, which you would never choose to do with an ordinary book. But I enjoy reading, and this is why I have chosen to look at my own experience of reading today. I can remember from a very young age reading books. And the library was a great source to find anything that you wanted to. I really enjoyed Enid Blyton, especially the Famous Five and the Secret Seven stories. She was born in 1897, and between 1922 and when she died in 1968, she had written over 700 books. However, today her writings are attacked by some for showing conservative values and with limited prose. And some critics say her books have been beset with rows over racism, sexism, xenophobia and snobbery. However, she has sold over 600 million books. Enid Blyton had 2 daughters, and her elder daughter Imogen Smallwood said in an interview that her mother was arrogant, insecure, pretentious, and very skilled at putting difficult or unpleasant things out of her mind, and she was without a trace of maternal instinct. As a child, Imogen viewed her as a rather strict authority, and as an adult, she didn't hate her, but she pitied her. Her younger daughter Gillian painted a different picture. She died in 2007, but said, "My mother always seemed to have time for me. We would go to beautiful buttercup meadows. I was always doing things with her." Enid Blyton herself was not interested in any critic over the age of 12. As children, I suppose my sister and I were spoiled because my dad had a paper shop, but he didn't sell books. But we always got any new comics when published. I don't remember the Dandy first published on December 1937 and the Beano published July 1938, but I do remember the Topper published in 1953 and the Beezer in January 1956. And I can remember Dad bringing home a copy of the Topper and my sister and I being engrossed in it. And of course, we used to get gifts for the first time. How many of you remember these banger things that you got with the comics? A couple of years later, the girls' comic, The Bunty, was published in 1958, and then The Judy in January 1960, which I read avidly. In January 1964, the Jackie became the popular magazine for teenage girls, and it was a great success. However, the only time I can remember Mum reading to us was when she read from one of her magazines. And I'm giving my age away here for older listeners or watchers on here. It was from the magazine called The Red Letter. And I think Mum got The Red Letter and The Star every week. But the story she read to us from The Red Letter was Little Orphan Annie, which was serialised, and my sister and I used to dash home from school. I can't remember which day it came out, but we would dash home from school and Mum would read us the next chapter of Little Orphan Annie. But in primary school we were given books as prizes at the end of the school year, and I still have 2 of them, one of which was The Mill on the Floss, and the other one was Cherry Ames, Department Store Nurse. I have to confess that I have read neither of these books. So when I started secondary school, my reading did drop off, and I have to say I wasn't keen on spending my time having to read English home readers, most of which I found long and pretty boring. The one I do remember enjoying was Ivanhoe, but I think the rest of the home readers left me pretty cold. And it wasn't until I started studies in Aberdeen that I began to read again for pleasure, and I have enjoyed reading ever since. I usually choose books partly, and it's not a good way to choose a book, but partly from looking at the cover, and if I like the cover, I will read the blurb on the back. If I don't like the cover, I won't even read the blurb on the back. So it is good at the book club because we read books that we might not choose ourselves to read, and it's good to hear other people's opinions. So, why is reading important? Well, it opens up a whole new world. And from a very early age, babies who look at books like the feel of books, and it helps children to develop basic language skills and expand their vocabularies. It can improve concentration and memory, and it's good exercise for the brain, and it can develop empathy. In adults, reading can reduce stress and helps to relax. And reading has been proven to keep our minds young, healthy and sharp. I'm not sure that's happened in my case, but studies have shown that reading can help prevent Alzheimer's disease. It's very sad to read statistics which suggest that many children leave school unable to read. And it's suggested that 200,000 children left primary school in 2021 unable to read. What a wonderful experience they're missing out on. So, what are the most popular books ever sold? Well, according to the Guinness Book of Records, it's estimated that 5 billion copies of the Bible have been sold and distributed. Mao Zedong has sold 820 million copies. Well, and there was Enid Blyton with 600 million copies, and Harry Potter with 400 million copies. So I don't personally, I don't think I do, know anyone who has read the Bible from cover to cover. I choose the parts which I find comforting and challenging. And my favourite stories as a child in the Old Testament were Daniel in the lion's den, David and Goliath, Moses in the bulrushes, Joseph being sold by his brothers. But in the New Testament, I did enjoy the miracle stories the miracles that Jesus performed, and the parables, the parable of the lost sheep, the lost coin, and the lost son. But my favourite passage must be from 1 Corinthians chapter 13, letter of Paul to the Corinthians. And it goes back to the time when I was at secondary school, and in form class we had to memorise a passage from the Bible. And it was this passage from 1 Corinthians. So I'm going to read you a bit from the NIV Bible, and when we get to verse 12, I think I'm going to read it from the Message, because I think it maybe makes it a wee bit clearer. So it starts off with, "If I speak in the tongues of men or of angels, but do not have love, I am only a resounding gong or a clanging cymbal. If I have a faith that can move mountains, but do not have love, I am nothing. If I give all I possess to the poor and give over my body to hardship, that I may boast, but do not have love, I gain nothing. Love is patient, love is kind. It doesn't envy, it does not boast, it is not proud, it does not dishonour others. It is not self-seeking, it is not easily angered. It keeps no record of wrongs. Love does not delight in evil, but rejoices with the truth. And love never fails. When I was a child, I talked like a child. I thought like a child. I reasoned like a child. When I became a man, I put away the ways of childhood behind me." And this verse 12 is from the Message Bible. "We don't yet see things clearly. We're squinting in a fog, peering through a mist. But it won't be long before the weather clears and the sun shines bright. We'll see it all then, see it all as clearly as God sees us, knowing Him directly, just as He knows us. And now these three remain: faith, hope, and love. But the greatest of these is love." So I'm just going to finish off by giving you one or two little sayings about books. "There is no friend as loyal as a book. Books are no more threatened by Kindle than stairs by elevators." And that was Stephen Fry. I'm sure most of you know who Stephen Fry is. He said that. "You can't buy happiness, but you can buy books." And that's kind of the same thing. A book is a dream you hold in your hand. Reading gives us some place to go when we have to stay where we are. The more that you read, the more things you learn, the more places you'll go. A book is a gift you can open time and time again. This is for perhaps married couples or anybody. Take a good book to bed with you. Books do not snore. A writer only begins a book, a reader finishes it. A room without books is like a body without a soul. That's the thing about books. They let you travel without moving your feet. And lastly, from Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen. I shall be miserable if I have not an excellent library. So have a good week, everybody, and happy reading.